So, for today's opener, I'm going to tell you another interesting fact because apparently this is what I'm doing now. Let me tell you about the goby shrimp, the goby fish, and the pistol shrimp. So these guys are a symbiotic relationship. It's a shrimp and a fish. Seems like a weird relationship here. It's called mutualism. So the shrimp digs out the cave, so he does the entire housing structure of where these two guys live. It's like an odd couple up in here. What the fish does is he scouts around and he tells the shrimp when bad things are coming, when predators are coming, and then they both hide in the hole. That's how that works. But here's the thing. They actually have like a series of rooms in this tunnel that they build together. Mostly the shrimp, of course, because he does a bunch of the work. But the fish can do a little bit of the work as well. They can bring in girlfriends into this place, by the way. So they'll bring in mates. Like the shrimp will straight up do banging, and the fish will do banging in separate rooms. And then they'll protect their children in separate rooms as well, and then eventually they'll let all their kids out when they are old enough to get out of there. It's a very interesting relationship, and just, it shows that different people can work together. That's really where I'm going with that. Welcome, friends, LostScarf here, and it's time for the vlog. I've decided to do facts at the start right now. It's easier to do facts than being funny, considering I am a biologist, and, well, it's hard to be funny when you're just stuck at home all the time, I think. Though some people are pulling it off, so... Okay, so, let's talk about channel stuff real quick. First up, scarf stuff. We are now 195, getting more muscle mass growth, losing body fat. Very good, because surgery's coming up in like 2 months, so I need to get as strong and as fit as I can before it's too late. My problem is this. Oh, you can't see it all that well. No, I can't. I'm not bringing the camera up on that. Bringing the camera down with that. This is still here. Like, this is here. This is getting tighter, and I'm burping myself. This is getting stronger. This is getting tighter. It's less fat, more muscle, which is good. Just getting a lot more of that. But the belly just don't want to go away. Also, I still got plenty of cake. I just can't lose that. Those are the parts that I gotta lose. Like, I'm trying to get my body fat percentage down, but they just don't want to go away. I don't know what to do about that. I think I just need to build more muscle to burn more fat. Random fact, if you do not know, the more muscle you have, the more fat you burn. That is because of the... what is it? The cells in your muscles are used for that. That's the fastest way I'll say it without trying to remember the chemistry right now, but there you go. Alright, so, I'm talking about channel stuff. Then I want to talk about, because politics are going to happen, I want to talk about Beirut a little bit, because there's some crazy stuff about that I want to talk about, because there's some things about water I can talk about with that. History being deterministic, and I also want to talk about, well, what's going on in politics right now. Very not great. But that'll be at the end, so you can just not be around for that if you want. You want to hear the Beirut stuff, because there's some interesting stuff I want to talk about there. But before all that, let's talk about the channels. Kirby's Block Ball is out now for the Kirby podcast, so that's cool right there. The plan right now is we're slowly redoing the old Kirby episodes and putting them on the Kirby's Dreamcast YouTube channel. That's happening over there. And as the gaming episodes come out, I'll put the gaming footage there as well, and that's what's going to happen with that. And eventually we'll just be caught back up over there, and all the footage, all the gaming ones that are on the main channel will go over there. That's what's going to happen. So that's where it's gone, if anyone's wondering what happened to that podcast. Because that podcast is important to me. We're going to be doing that podcast for, I don't know, the rest of my life. Yeah, maybe, I don't know. I really like Kirby. We know that. Kirby's 28 years old. I'm 33 years old. Kirby's been with me since I was 5. There's that thing that, you know, you look back to with nostalgia. I just stuck with it the whole time. This is what happened there. There's just those things that stick with you. Like, for some people, it's a sports team. You've had a sports team since you were a kid, and you've just grown up with that sports team. For me, it's this guy. This is the thing that's grown up with me. I just keep going with it. By the way, background. There you go. Also, there's a fallen over Kirby on that side. It's just the thing that stuck with me. Some people, it would be, of course, like I said, sports team or a band you liked when you were a kid and then they're still around. Like, picture if you were a fan of Iron Maiden since you were a kid. Like, there's so much goodness for you right there. Or if you're a fan of, I guess, Metallica. I don't know how kids hadn't heard Metallica, but... just if you're a fan of a band at a younger age, and then they just still made music and all that stuff. So you grow up with it. There you go. That's Kirby for me. There you go. Or a fan of Nintendo, this and that. So, Kirby channel. My plan is to just keep building that. Eventually we'll get through all the anime episodes, we'll get through all the gaming episodes. And what do we do when we run out of all that stuff? Well, there's still things to talk about. I don't do, like, theory, but what I want to do is, like, do rankings for sure. Like, do, like, all the powers. Just go through the powers, like, these are the best powers, these are the worst powers. Go through the villains, all that stuff. The usual list stuff I want to do eventually, but not right now. I want to build the groundwork for that. It's going to take years to build that groundwork, but I'm basically building a foundation of, well, you cannot say I don't know what the hell I'm talking about if I've been doing it for all these years, going through every game, going through all the anime, going through everything I can find. That gives me some grounding to say, I know what I'm talking about. Because sometimes I just see opinions like, what the really? And it's more because they're 10 or they're 15 or 20. Like, people will pick that the game they grew up with is the best game. And that's going to happen, of course. But you can't ignore how good these older games were. That's how I feel about things. So, of course, Kirby Superstar is like one of my favorite games of all time. There are people who are like, Kirby wasn't good until Triple Deluxe. And to that, I am extremely confused, because if it wasn't good until Triple Deluxe, then how did Kirby survive to that point, kind of thing? Or people are like, Robobot's the best one, Star Allies is terrible. I'm like, what are you talking about? That was an amazing game that built on so many 2+ decades of stuff. But digression from that, because that's not what this vlog is about. Yeah, gonna be doing Kirby for a long time, for a very long time. Kirby's just a fun guy. He's great. I laugh because I'm thinking of Paper Mario, where they have so many fun guy jokes. Oh my god. Paper Mario Origami King's really good. The people complaining about it, I got nothing for you either. I got nothing. It's fun. I really enjoy it. So that's that. Basically, podcast is doing well. I'm just rebuilding it, so it's gonna take a while to get it back to fruition, but it's in a good spot getting there. I'm getting guests every week, so that's working out pretty well. The plan was every 2 weeks, so being able to do it every week has been pretty nice for the time being. But at some point, I'm going to have a week where no one's going to be there, so then it's back to 2 a week until I can get back to one every week if I can do that. I don't know. We'll see about that. Why am I talking so fast? I don't know. We had an artist. We're going to have a communications manager next for a major publisher, so that'll be really cool. They also do podcasting, so that's going to be an interesting one. There's some dead air in there, because I'm like, oh crap, I can't think of a good question for this person, because they actually have some prestige to them. And then after that's going to be another digital artist who's in college. It's going to be interesting to have their perspective on things. After that, I don't know where we're going to go from there. Probably try to get a hold of Mez or Spiff next, because I want to talk to Spiff about Parasite and Journey, because he said you got to do those. I'm like, oh yeah, these are good. I'm glad he told me. Oh, of course, Journey was something I was going to do eventually. But Parasite was something I just debated for a long time, but now I've finally seen it, and it's amazing. Holy crap. Mez, I just want to talk to Mez again. It's been a while. I want to talk to Mez. Talk to him about anime and manga, basically, at this point. But those are those who I want to try to get up next eventually. And then there's some game developers who they want to talk in September, so we'll try to get them eventually. And there's just more creatives out there I want to talk to for sure. And hopefully we'll get there and we'll build up. I found out, actually, that I've built up enough. So we've done enough with the podcast, basically podcast with gaming people, that I can actually ask for a press pass now at PAX. I'm like, what? Okay, that's interesting. Doesn't mean anything right now, but that's interesting. So that's cool. That's cool. I'm happy to hear that. Yeah. Anything else with the channel? Just LP. Origami King's happening after Journey. So right now it's Control, then Journey, then Origami King. That's what's happening there. One-shots are happening as well. Really, we're doing the hamster wheel. We're just making content, putting it out there. There's some special things here and there. Side channel's got a bunch of LPs, not LPs, but just games I'm researching as well for the one-shot. So if you want to see me check out these random indie games, check out the side channel Scarf Plays for that. And yeah, there's going to be more art streams in the future because I'm enjoying art, D&D and things like that. I am exploring all the things I want to have fun with. But because I'm such a variety person, variety channel, I know we're not very laser focused. That's why, thankfully, in a way, Kirby's got its own channel, so it's more laser focused. So if people just want Kirby, they can have just Kirby, and there you go. I talked about this with 2 Prime before. ProZD, Sungwon Show, he has a ton of content on his channel. I don't watch any of it unless it's basically his vines. If he's doing a vine, I will watch that. That's it. That's all I watch. I don't care about his anime stuff. Although I do enjoy anime and he has some good opinions. I don't care for any of that stuff. I don't care about his food boxes. I don't care about any of that stuff. I just watch him for that one thing. I'm subbed to him for that one thing. Whereas, I don't know if it's a generational thing or just mindset. Other people, they're like, because he has just these videos and nothing else that they like, they just don't sub to him and they only check out his channel when they remember him. Well, for me, I'm just subbed to all this. Seems like, okay, well, I've been subbed to this. Let's check out what they got going on and do that. It's just different mindsets on why you sub and stuff like that, but I would rather people sub to me than just search me. I guess. Because sub numbers do matter when it comes to asking for review codes and things like that. Like Fall Guys, I was trying to get a review for them, wasn't able to get one. Still a really good game, bought it myself because, well, I want to play it anyway, so Fall Guys is amazing, very fun. Played with Pan, we did really good as a team. We won 4 games in a row. That was amazing. I won one, he won one, and then I won 2 more. That was so fun. That was really good. That really was good because I was having some rough times with Fall Guys. Like, I just kept having bad games, and then we teamed up and did really well, so that was great. Been playing with Jinx off cam as well. It's been pretty fun with Jinx as well. And yeah, Fall Guys is good. Anything else with the channel? I thank you all for your loyalty and being here every week, or just watching whatever you watch. I think Control's a really good game, so that's why I've gotten more viewership than normal, because it's just a good game. I've been asked to play Ghost of Tsushima. I wish I had a PS4. And I've debated that. I debated, do I want to get a PS4 or should I get a PS5 and hope it's backward compatible, or I don't know. The thing is, I could get that, but I don't feel like I'd be that efficient if I got that as well, because we've already got Xbox games / PC games, and we've got the Switch. And so we've got all these games, and we only do one LP at a time at this point. I do research and do stuff on the side channel, then consider recommending on the main channel. Like, I'm not fast about LPs either, because I'm a completionist, so we go through everything in a game. The only thing that would speed it up, I guess, but it would be more work, is if I convinced, that's the only way, it wouldn't be make, if I convinced Jinx to cut out the fluff, which would be more work for her. But at the same time, the fluff is there. It shows what the game is. It shows that there's these lulls in a game, so you understand that. So if you want to play it yourself, you see these parts to it. Some people do watch LPs to see if they want to buy a game. They don't just watch an LP so they don't have to buy a game. Like, for me, with LPs, I only watch LPs to see the game in full if I can't play it myself, so PlayStation games. But if it's like PC or Xbox or Switch or whatever, if I'm watching an LP, it's to see if I want to buy it myself. That's what I'll watch them for. But that's my mindset. Other people have different mindsets, of course. So I think that's everything with gaming. Now, what I want to talk about now is Beirut, Lebanon. That explosion was insane. Like, I saw the first video that came out about the explosion right after it happened. Like, that video came out maybe 5 minutes after the explosion happened. It's kind of crazy. Someone's like, oh, shoot. And then they put it on the internet. The explosion was, like, you see it. You see the smoke come out of the building, like, oh, damn, that explosion looks bad. Okay. And then, boom, it actually happens. Like, that wasn't the explosion yet. That was one explosion that you saw the post of one, but you didn't see the real explosion yet. And that explosion was ridiculous. The thing is, watching movies, anime, playing games, things like that, we have seen, like, explosions and things like buildings disappear from playing games and watching shows and things like that. We've seen that. Like, Fear. Fear has a point where that happens, where a big explosion happens, and you just see buildings just disappear in front of you. They become nothing. It's an amazing moment in that game, by the way. But you don't know that's how reality works. Like, seeing this in reality, seeing that cloud just go and just disappear as fast as it did, like just whoosh, and then just seeing the destruction coming at the viewer, at the person recording it, and seeing just buildings disappear was insane. There are some people who are jaded with just a lot of things in the world now, and nothing shocks them anymore, and that, of course, shocked them. Another one that was shocking was back in the day when you saw the flooding of Japan from, I forget which tsunami. You just watch it, they're from like a helicopter view, and the water's rolling in. And just rolling in, it's like, alright, it just looks like a beach kind of thing. And then you realize how much water there is when it knocks over homes and buildings. When it's just knocking things over, like, oh, damn, that's actually a lot of water. Oh! Like, there's footage from, I don't know, there's Holland, maybe, not Holland, Iceland, I think? From Iceland, I think it was. Where a flooding happens, and you see houses just from landslides fall in and just roll around in the water, and then they just get under the water. It's crazy to see how much destruction can really happen. It's just nuts when you see that stuff. So that was crazy. So as ammonium nitrate was the explosion that's used in fertilizer and things like that. I actually have experience with that to an extent because of water. Water has some things where we worry about ammonia and nitrates. We actually worry about that stuff. That's actually in the regulations to avoid producing that, because you can. And so I have some experience with that. But I think it was in 1940s, 1950s, Texas. There was an ammonium nitrate explosion. That's why America understands this a little bit. There's a big ammonium nitrate explosion there. I believe that added to regulations, because usually bad things happen to add to regulations. Like, the bad thing has happened first, then regulations happen, because they didn't realize the bad thing was going to happen like that. But here's what I want to tell you about. PepCon. You can look this up on YouTube, watch the footage yourself. This was a factory. I forget at the moment what was the cause of the explosion. I think it was a dust explosion, and then just boom. You can watch the explosion yourself. It's in the desert though, so it's just the factory. And just boom, and you can see the sand, the desert just reverberate from it. It is so cool and also horrifying at the same time, because anyone there was dead. You don't survive that. Same thing happened with Beirut. Anyone at ground zero was gone. Just a crazy thing to see. So, PepCon, because of what happened there, though, this was in Nevada, the chemicals from that explosion blasted into the ground. So what's happening from that is, even to this day, because this was like, I think 30 years ago, somewhere around there, like 1980 something it happened, or I believe, or 90s. This happened. This explosion happened. That goes into the ground. The thing about the ground is, the natural way water is purified is through the ground. Water just goes into the ground and just sinks, goes into smaller areas, and comes out pure water. Comes out H2O. If there's anything in it, it's usually nothing major. Although wells can get contaminated. But still, usually just H2O comes out. Maybe a little, some other things, but for the most part, just water. The problem here is these chemicals could seep into that and contaminate the drinking supply. So Nevada spends a lot of money dealing with those chemicals, making sure they don't get into the water supplies of Nevada. It's a very costly thing. This is a thing this is why regulations are a thing. This is why we care about it so much. It's a pain in the ass to do regulations, but when things go wrong, it's very expensive. So the next thing I want to talk about is history being deterministic. We're doomed to repeat history unless we learn from it, is the belief. And it seems like it's true, because history does repeat itself. We can say World War I and World War II, history repeating itself. Although that's a pretty close thing. It was more of a domino effect, you could argue, happening there. The Spanish flu. I believe it was 1919, 1920. World War I had some effect on how it happened, but I'm not getting into that. The Spanish flu happens. And then we have the second wave. This is what everyone was scared about here when this virus is the second wave. There were anti-maskers during the Spanish flu. There are anti-maskers now. History repeated itself. History repeated itself. There's a belief that history is deterministic because we see these points in history and then them happening again later. And so we're seeing this here. We're seeing this point in history and it happening again now. The US suffered greatly for the Spanish flu. And we're going to suffer greatly for this flu. And just real quick, I am just so tired of conspiracy theorists about this whole thing. They think it's a manufactured thing. Or they think that we're doing some things so that we can control more freedom. You have any idea how much of the economy is taking a hit? You think your theory, your conspiracy theory about the rich people wanting to contain the poor or something like that, or take their freedoms away, you think they'd want to lose money to do that? No, they wouldn't. Think of any conspiracy you want. Think of any conspiracy and honestly try to justify it. Really deep down think with the most cynical thoughts how to make that work and how that would work, and you'll realize you're insanely stupid. Like, there's no good theory on this. There's none. It is a shit situation and Americans are dumb. That's just the best way to put it right now. And people will be like, well, if you don't like it so much, get the hell out. Just shut up. That's about it. Just shut up. Republicans and liberals bitch about the US a lot in different ways. Liberals do it a little bit more. Republicans and liberals, that's true. They're the same, but they're not exactly the same. Conservatives and liberals, Republicans and Democrats, they're not the same, but they're usually together. That's actually a distinction that is not understood. But anyway, left and right, we'll just use that. Left and right, they both bitch about the US in different ways. And it feels like the US, the left side will say it more directly about the US, while the right will say it more directly about people in the US. But they're really just bitching about each other, or just bitching about things in their own thing. But people bitch a lot. We bitch a lot about a lot of things. But that doesn't mean we don't love our country. Like, I'm really frustrated with a lot of things in the US. Extremely annoyed, extremely mad about it. It's like, why don't you just leave? It's like, shut up, I don't want to leave, you idiot. I want it to be better. This is why I bitch so much about Smite. Those who are Smite fans. I bitched a lot about Smite because I saw a greater potential to that game. I thought it could be even greater than it was, and it was holding itself back. And it really did in some ways. Smite really did hold itself back. Not Smite, but Hi-Rez. There were some things that could have taken them to the next level that they effed up on, and we all know about that. We all know they made some failures there. They made some bad calls. But good for Smite right now, because their acquisition, or their play with Avatar, it's gotten them to a bigger height, so good for them. There's a problem that it happens on the left, but you see it a lot more on the right, and that is the inability to take criticism, the inability to take feedback. And this is also an individual thing where people in general are just bad at this. The inability to take that, to see criticism as hatred, to see criticism as just not a good thing, when you can use criticism as feedback, because that's usually what it can be used as, and find a way to make things better. Do you know what the devil's advocate is? The devil's advocate has been misused a lot, but what a devil's advocate is, in actuality, is it's someone who's for the thing that they're arguing against. What they're doing is they're trying to come up with arguments against the thing they're for so they can find a way around that. That's what that is. You want an example? Let's go with BP. BP was playing devil's advocate when it came to alternative energy. BP was doing a bunch of research into alternative energy before anyone else was, so that they could figure out how to defend against it later. Not that so they could do it themselves, but so they could defend against it. They were playing devil's advocate to understand that. A lot of people think devil's advocate means you're just putting a dissenting opinion because you believe that or whatever. But no, that's not what it is. Devil's advocate is you putting out this opinion so you can figure out how to work around it or defend against it. That's what it really is. Not, well, let me put my dissenting opinion, or let me put this unpopular opinion. That's not a devil's advocate. That is us misunderstanding what it is. Now, because we've done it so much, and the immutability of language, we can say that that has become a new meaning to devil's advocate, but it's not the true meaning of it, if we want to get down on it. A weird thing is what's happening with California. California is having an exodus. A bunch of people from the right are leaving, and people from the left are also leaving California. Because they're tired of dealing with each other, or because of housing, or this and that. But because of these exoduses from California, states around California are turning more blue. I find that interesting. Apparently more blue is leaving, but it's also weird because just California's just so blue. I want to explain something about California. Everyone thinks California is an extremely deep blue state. The truth of the matter is, right now it has been. Ever since Clinton, California's been blue. Before that, it was red all the way to Gerald Ford. For one time, and then it was red again. All the way back until World War II. Then it was blue again. And before that, it was red, and then there was some blue here and there, and that's it. Like, when the country was unanimously voting blue, that's when it happened. When it was a tight contention, it was usually red, or just when the country was voting red, they were red. Like, California was in consensus with a lot of the country a lot of the time. And then it's become blue in the last 3 decades. It's been very blue. By the way, Texas has been going back and forth a couple times. Now it's been very red for the last couple decades, just like California's been blue for the last couple decades. But Texas was blue a lot more than California was prior to that. That's very interesting. So the truth of the matter is, Texas and California have always had the potential to be swing states, but there's just enough, couple million more of the opposition to make that not happen. Like, there's just enough red to not let Texas become blue. There's just enough blue to not let California become red again. That's what's been happening. The truth of the matter is, California, despite what a lot of people on the right think, California has a lot of conservativeness to it while being a blue state. It really does. Of course, this is talking, I'm going to give you an example, but this is 15 years old, so you can say things have changed a little bit, but really they haven't, honestly, when I think about politics I've been around. Gay marriage. You know what the first state to do gay marriage was? Do you think it would be Hollywood? Do you think it would be California? Do you think it would be them? Do you think this very blue state would be the first one to do it? No, it was Massachusetts. Massachusetts was the first one to do gay marriage. It was 2004? No, not 2004. I graduated in 2004, I think. It was 2005, 2006. One of these years, I think 2006. Could be wrong. I was a member of the LGBT community in college. Not gay, just I was always an ally, and I hanged out with those people a lot. That's a bad way to put it. I hanged out with the LGBT community a lot. I was there when gay marriage was voted for, in favor of. There was cakes, there was a party, it was pretty fun. I think it was 1 or 2 years later, I forget when, because I was still in college. I was there when it got voted down. When gay marriage disappeared again in California. It was a very, very sad and depressing day. There was so much crying. It was extremely dreary. Me felt bad for everyone there. Of course, what am I gonna? I'm still okay. I'm just straight, so I'm good on marriage. But it was very unfortunate. A lot of hugging of crying people that day. A lot of hugging of crying people that day. Then again, of course, at some point, gay marriage came back to California. I don't remember when. Specifics I'm not good on. I just know where I was when I was at something. California, as blue as it is very red in a lot of ways. We have a lot of rules and things like that, which is a very democratic thing. But there has always been this undercurrent of red as well, because there is quite a lot of it here. If you look at the votes for any election, there's millions of red votes, not just blue votes, happening. They just can't overcome the blue votes. That's just it. But they happen. It could, one of these days, California can get red again, either because of Exodus or just some sort of tide turn. I don't know what. It's also possible it just goes more blue. I don't know. I feel like the younger generations get more progressive in a way, but I don't know. It's weird. I don't know where we'll be because I just don't understand how we can be what we are in a lot of ways. But really, if you thought California is just this blue state, it's not. It's not really. There's more to it. It's very close to being, what's blue and red? Purple? It's got the potential to be a purplish state. There's not enough red to make it purple. There's not enough to make it a swing state. But there's a lot of conservatism to it. Oh yeah, the NRA's been gone after, yeah. But anyone who thinks taking out the NRA is going to get rid of the Second Amendment's a freaking idiot. A freaking moron. You're a dumbass, honestly. The NRA is shit. They only represent, 5-10% of gun owners? That's not anything. That's not anything at all. Second Amendment's not going anywhere. Honestly, I don't know how you can be a smart gun owner and not want better background checks anyway. I really don't know how you cannot want that. You want more crazies to have guns in their hands? I'd rather they not. I just don't understand why people are like, you can't make any concessions. You really can't make any concessions? We keep talking about how it's a mental illness thing, then why don't we not allow mental illness to get it? I don't understand why we're not doing anything. You can't budge at all? Are you insane? You must be, because are you kidding me? You're okay with this. Then I want to talk about the Postal. So, Postal Service is having a really bad time. Talk about it just real quick. It's very frustrating what's happening here, where the election is just getting delegitimized. When voter fraud is so tiny. I hate it so much. I'm surrounded by people who think it's a real thing, who think that because mail voting has been in a big way because of the virus, which is why people are making that conspiracy for some freaking reason. They think that's happening. One of the conspiracy theories is that the only way Trump would lose would be with freaking mail-in voting, because fraud could be used rampantly, and so the Democrats could win. It's really weird because a lot of red states do mail-in voting. Straight up, they do that stuff. And so it's really weird when Trump goes after his allies over that, when that's just been the norm. Very odd. But it's the best way to delegitimize the election right now, because Trump is not in a good spot. My father is not voting Trump this time. He was gung-ho Trump for 3 years. It took the virus for him to realize he couldn't handle this. And if he can't handle it, then someone else needs to do the job. That's what it took. It took this to get my dad to turn on Trump. Blows my mind. It didn't take all that other stuff to turn on Trump. It took this. because of how badly he's handling it. And Trump still got a 40% approval rating. He's failed miserably on this. He's got a 40% approval rating. It's very frustrating. Some people are just diehard for Trump. It's crazy. So delegitimizing the election, what is that to do exactly, though? At the end of the day, what does delegitimizing the election do? When Trump loses, he's gonna... all it can be is a very bad, violent situation. I don't know what else he can do. Speaking of politics again, Pence is mad at Justice Roberts for some weird-ass reason. He's a disappointment to Republicans. No, he's not. He's been voting for Democratic things, but he keeps leaving the door open for Republican things. Like, he's like, okay, he's like, look, you guys did really stupid things here. You want to just push this through because you had the majority, but it makes the mockery of the court. Ask it a different way. Ask it a better way. Like, he's leaving the window, though, like, there are better ways to ask for this stuff instead of just pushing it through like you can just do it. And by doing that, he's given the Republicans a chance to have a better concrete reason so that they can't get overturned in the future should the Supreme Court change in the future. So Roberts is doing a very good job for the Republicans. They just don't understand it because he's playing the long game. All they want is a short game, and they're doing it very badly. So Pence is an idiot, basically. Oh, he's always been an idiot, though. So that's the vlog. I went long. So there you go, that's the vlog. That's everything, just what's been on my mind with politics and with just the world and everything going on. Interesting stuff in there, probably not so interesting stuff in other ways. Especially if you're not an American, you don't care about some of this stuff for sure. But, there you go, that's the vlog. I had fun, I've been watching, that's what's all about it. Having fun, thanks for coming by, and see you next time.